This is my review of episode 9 of the Bleach anime. So after saving Yuzu from Grand Fisher, he obviously cuts his tendril off. Grand Fisher uses Karin as a hostage, and he starts kind of speaking with Ichigo, telling him now you're in where I want you and stuff like that. Saito and Ruki arrive. This is already very different from the manga. I accidentally watched this episode before doing the manga thing, so my notes are kind of mixed up here. Because apparently reading 3 chapters at a time just isn't good enough. And boy, that's going to be a complaint with the next episode. So it's revealed that to Rukia that Ichigo's mom was clearly killed by Grand Fisher because Ichigo recognizes the little girl as being the girl that was at the river. There's an added line that Grand Fisher likes to eat women, which is just contrived and stupid. It's very convenient that he likes to eat women, and Ichigo had a mom and he says, it's like, okay. In the fucking manga, he just goes after people with large amounts of spiritual energy. Either way, though, in either iteration, it doesn't make any sense that Ichigo survives that encounter. Nor does them not being eaten. Like, you can say Masaki's soul was eaten, but he was about to eat Yuzu's body. Am I supposed to believe Yuzu that when they eat somebody, their body doesn't disappear? Surely he would have eaten both Masaki and Ichigo's bodies. Ichigo jumps up on the wall. Grand Fisher jumps to the wall. Ichigo jumps up toward him when he gets to the wall, and he's bound by his hairs and completely immobilized. So in this, they opted to have Ruki actually use the Kido that she was going to use. She performs Hado number 9 strike, which just caused this red aura to surround Grand Fisher, and he winced in pain. And that attack hurting him distracts Grand Fisher, and then he strikes Rukia with one of his hair blows, and then Saito shows up and he cuts Grand Fisher's arm off and saves Karin. And then Ichigo manages to cut out the hair. So at this point, they're definitely making more of a team effort, which I think is a bit better. Because Grand Fisher, we are told, is strong, but then again, in the manga, he didn't really struggle with Ichigo at all. Ichigo struggled against him. He didn't. No, I said it right. He doesn't struggle at all. Yeah. He just kind of kicks Ichigo's ass. Grand Fisher then extends his hair to attack Karin. He shoots a bunch of little strands out, and then Saito jumps in front of them to try and block them, but they just hit against his sword and split and impale him all over the place. As he's impaled, Saito sees a glimpse of Ichigo's mom's soul, and then Ichigo cuts the hairs to get them to get out of Saito. Saito starts bleeding heavily, and some of the kind of dramatic OST starts playing in front of him. And Saito gives us, I think it's the piano where it's do 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 like that. Saito gives a speech about the responsibility of Shinigami that they have to protect people. They can't not protect people. It's their job to protect people even if they die, blah, 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 blah. This spoils the conflict later that we would have of when we meet the Shinigami properly, of them being antagonists, but we find out that they're not evil. There's a conflict of interest between them and Ichigo. Now we know they're a good Shinigami, which kind of ruins that. And then Saito falls down. You think he's gonna die, but he just falls asleep for a gag. Kon arrives, and then the fucking synth comes in. And I was getting really hyped. The rain starts coming down. Rukia tells Ichigo to back her up, and then he just leaps onto the wall that Grand Fisher was on again. And he rushes Grand Fisher, and then Grand Fisher shoots hair everywhere, and then we cut to a shrine. And Kon and Ichigo's body obviously are sitting on the steps to the shrine. And Karin makes a noise, and then Conan asks Karin if she's awake, but she doesn't really respond. And then he just kind of freaks out, not knowing if he's doing Ichigo right. And then we cut to Ichigo, and he's running through some trees, and Grand Fisher's tendrils are just going all throughout the trees. It is very different from what was going on in the manga. A lot more involved and stuff. He slashed Grand Fisher's face, but Grand Fisher disappeared. And then he goes behind him, like he does in the manga. In the manga, there's a scene where like Ichigo cuts his strands of hair, Grand Fisher zips behind him, and here they did it a bit different. And he, I think, starts like shooting hair up and starts coming down. Ichigo just dodges multiple attacks, which makes it seem like Ichigo is far more even than they're really supposed to be, because like I said in the manga, Ichigo just kind of gets all fucked up. He doesn't do well at all. But the music is just fucking incredible. It's just, fuck. Bleach's music is just something else. Grand Fisher dodges an attack rather than rushing. He just appears behind him. Because unlike the manga, Ichigo starts rushing Grand Fisher rushes at him and then puts his hand up, forcing Ichigo to block him. In this, Ichigo rushes him, Grand Fisher rushes him, and then he zips behind Ichigo. And when Ichigo turns around, he hits him with the hand and forces Ichigo to block him. I don't know why they made that change. It was kind of sloppy, but whatever. Either way, then there's a scene where Grand Fisher stabs him with his fucking claws, and it like goes an inch, and I already complained about the like inch shouldn't hurt him that much. And then Rukia shows up, and she's trying to tell Ichigo to let her help, and he's like crazed and obsessed with fighting him alone. Like, no, you can't help me. I have to do this on my own. It's a bit worse. Because in the manga, he said that in the heat of the moment, but he didn't really mean it. And here, they're making him seem a little more obsessed and stuff. And I get it, it's his mom, but still. Grand Fisher does his thing where he berates Ichigo for being young and inexperienced. And then he does a reveal where he puts his hand around his lore and shows it in Masaki. We see the flashback, and we see Captain Jushiro Okatake telling Rukia about fighting for honor versus fighting for life. Big spoiler on the whole fucking organization of the Shinigami and shit. And we wouldn't see him properly for God knows how long, but why not? We didn't see him properly, but we see his silver hair and stuff, so it's like, what the fuck? For them not fixing the inch-deep stab wounds, Ichigo is actually just not on the brink of death, which I think is better. He's just running and fucking attacking like he doesn't give a shit. Saito wakes up, and then Grand Fisher just keeps fighting. He doesn't bother to explain his power, so if you just watch the anime like I have in the past, you don't really know how he knew about Masaki's shit. Because he says earlier, I don't remember her face. I don't remember what happened 6 years ago, so it's like, how did he do that? And then the manga they explain it, in the anime they don't. Grand Fisher does a thing, obviously, where he has Masaki sitting there so Ichigo can't attack her, and then he stabs Ichigo, but instead of stabbing through her to hit his chest, he just stabs around her and hits Ichigo in the shoulder, which is really stupid. Then Saito arrives, and then Grand Fisher uses his claws and he's about to kill Ichigo, and then lightning shoots up out of the lore, and it glows. And then Saito says that his mother's thoughts must be manifesting themselves, or final thoughts must be manifesting themselves, and I was like, what the fuck? This wasn't in the manga at all, and even though I've seen this before, it's only hitting me now that this is just coming out of nowhere. What the fuck is this, bro? The lore apparently recorded thoughts at the moment of her death. that doesn't make any sense. What the fuck is going on? Misaki says that she's proud of Ichigo and the family, and she's happy to have known them and stuff. This is just dumb. It makes no sense. It'll never be brought up again. This doesn't go anywhere. I don't know why they did this. I don't know if this is Kubo's idea or what, but I think this is stupid. Then we get a big flashback of their life together and stuff. And Misaki tells Ichigo just live life, and she thinks Ichigo for getting to know him, and then she kind of floats off and disappears. And it's like, what the fuck was all that, bro? Where's the lore? Not lore, but lure. Grand Fisher's lure is just gone. Misaki just took it with her. So now the whole, like, it's an appendage, just the second body reveal is just non-existent. What the fuck? It's so stupid. And then he grabs Grand Fisher's shit and he stands up and he pulls the tendril out of his shoulder and stabs Grand Fisher in the shoulder. And Orihime is leaving Tatsuki's house, and we get the rain poem again about me letting the sky and earth meet and meeting two hearts. Just cutting out a big fucking gag Kubo did. Why are we cutting out so much shit? I have such a big complaint coming up about that. Why are we cutting so much shit? I get it. I get that it distracts and takes away from the fucking drama, but god damn it, just move it then. You came up with this whole ass filler Shinigami that honestly takes away from this fight for Ichigo by giving him help, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to do anything for his character because it didn't actually happen. But you did all that, but then you're just going to cut out like actual canon shit for no fucking reason. And Grand Fisher's freaking out because he was stabbed, and then Ichigo cuts out of him like that, which I think looks cool. Blood goes all fucking everywhere, and he starts freaking out, and then he just starts running. He just starts running away. And then he flies in the sky, and he just fucks off. It's just like, what the fuck? In the fucking manga, there's this whole thing where he goes inside of the Misaki lure, and it's all fucked up and perverted and shit, and he runs off in that body, and Ichigo can't chase after him, and it's like this big psychological thing. It's Ichigo's fault for not asking for help and stuff. And here we don't have any of that. Ichigo had help and just failed to be able to kill him. So he's just a fuck up. Ichigo's barely able to stand. Saito's just there for no reason. It's pretty sloppy. Saito's the one who makes the remark about Ichigo having a lot of power instead of Rukia. Saito decides he won't report Rukia, so him being here was completely meaningless. We get the window shot. It still looks really good. It doesn't look as cool as the way Kubo drew it, but it still looks really cool. I'm glad they put it in, because I praised that panel. I wish they would have done the fucking samurai panel with Cone, because that was also a really creative one. Ishin's looking at the moon. Ichigo's apologizing to his mother for not killing Grand Fisher. Ishin walks up. He lights a cigarette. Ichigo asks him if they thought he'd quit. Ishin does the reveal that Misaki only ever complimented him when he smoked. So he only does it on the anniversary of her death. Blah, blah, blah. I already mentioned that. Ichigo believes he deserves the blame for Misaki dying and wants everyone to hate him. But Ishin tells Ichigo that Misaki would scold him if he blamed him for her death, and would hate him and stuff, and tells Ichigo that he's the man that the woman he loved gave her life to protect, so he should remember that. And then he needs Ichigo in the back for letting his guard down. is much more goofy than the manga's version, where Ishin and him kind of just goof around for the majority of the scene. Here he only really needs Ichigo once because he let his guard down. Ishin gives him his life advice, of course, they'll live long and shit, and then Ichigo asks if Rukia was listening and says he wants to be a Shinigami. He has a resolve now and he wants to save people from hollows. Yeah. I think I can't recommend one over the other. They don't really leave you in the same place. I think both the anime and manga's version of telling a story are valid, and they both deserve being watched because they both portray something very different. The manga was the full culmination of Ichigo's lack of knowing how to fight. He's a martial artist. He knows how to throw his hands. He doesn't know how to swing a sword. He doesn't know anything about swords. So Grand Fisher was just kind of shitting on him for just swinging it wildly. He doesn't know the proper way to do it. He doesn't know what he's doing. And so Grand Fisher just kind of shits on him the whole time, just getting all these hits in and shit and fucking him up. And it's all Ichigo can do just to stay alive. He has no chance of actually defeating Grand Fisher on his own. And that's why he would have accepted Rukia's help had she helped him. Because he knew he couldn't win. He knew he wasn't good enough. But in the anime, he just has the help from the beginning and then resolves halfway through when all of them have been hurt that he's going to do it on his own, which is just stupid. And then he somewhat is made a little more equal with Grand Fisher for no fucking reason. And the point isn't necessarily that he's reckless. He's just caught off guard, almost dies. And then plot-induced bullshit happens to save him that will never be brought up again. And that's just really stupid and lazy compared to the manga's way of doing it. I don't hate the addition of Saito. I just wish... Like, he's fine, it's just the changes to Ichigo are the issue, really. And the fact Ruki is there the whole time watching Ichigo die. And he's still determined to just do it on his own. That's the main issue I have with that. Manga's version is the only one that's relevant to what will happen in the future, because this is all about Ichigo learning that he needs to know how to fight as opposed to just swing his sword wildly. Like I said, Saito I don't think is ever going to come back. So I think that's the primary thing to consider with this, but I still think that the anime's story is interesting enough that it merits seeing. But that's my thoughts on this. I thought it was a good fight. I've already talked about it. I really liked Grand Fisher's fight. He's got an interesting ability with his hair stuff. It makes for some interesting ideas of the way to use it. The manga and anime both had different ways that they did it. The anime was a little more creative, but it's also in motion, so it has that capability. It was a good fight. Not the best one we've seen with the Hollows, but it's like number 2 or 3. Yeah.